happy that they think about me. It was really fun, and I'd like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, nice, they want me. But at the same time, I felt that fear again, man. I felt that fear because I
Hear
felt the
that?
pressure.
Mhm.
Because the
Right.
pressure was, if I don't succeed, the whole team cannot support that technology.
Shawn, how you doing this week, man?
Hey, hey, doing good, Carl. Long time, brother. I'm doing all good. Doing all good, man. Good to see you
Yeah,
again.
yeah, you too, you too. So today it's going to be a little bit different. We got a special guest, Jonathon Rhau. So he's a network specialist, and we thought to bring him on to get his experience, ask him about his background, and particularly trying to understand some of the digital transformations that he had to undergo, particularly in the last 6 months. So, Jonathon, can you quickly introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure, thank you. My name is Jonathon Rhau. I work in an internet service provider company, like a telecom company, sorry, one of the largest one, Bell Canada, the largest one in Canada, I might say. And it's been very, it's a very good experience. It's been 15 years since I'm there, and I moved through different roles, actually four different roles during that time. And I had a lot of learnings, and especially right now in the time where everything is changing and changing so fast, you need to be able to keep up and ways to stay on top of things. And I've been challenged with that, and I have to face that as a reality. And I just went forward with it. You have to acknowledge it, embrace it, and go forward.
Absolutely.
Well, welcome,
Absolutely.
man. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. So let's continue on that. And I'd really love to learn how did you get into your role? How did that story start for you?
My role currently right now, I'm working in the network operation, and I focus mainly on the PSTN transformation project. So we transform our legacy telephone networks, and there's life cycles involved, etc. So I participate in doing the testing, the validation, the migration of different telephony gateway, and then I also provide support. So I'm in the support team, and it's like a mix of project and operation. So when I say project, it would be upgrades, it could be augmentation, it could be new addition, it could be a new feature that we want to add, to those gateways, etc. So I participate in both of that. It's a challenging role because we are confronted to change all the time, and we are confronted to unknown. So it's a fairly new technology. uh, I've been on it a couple of years now, and I often find myself, asking myself question like, what I'm gonna do with that, or I have no idea, or this is linked to that, or shoot, and this is related to a technology X that I know very little about. So how I'm gonna face that challenge in order to go forward and provide the support, etc. So it's a lot of research and finding answer. So I'm getting better and better and researching and finding answer. And with time, you also build up also on your knowledge, and you get more and more comfortable. But it's really about being comfortable at being uncomfortable. And I feel like if you embrace that, then you just open a new lane, a fast lane, a fast track for you to grow faster. Because for me, it's like when you go to the gym, you're lifting weight, it's not comfortable. You need to break those fiber muscle, but we do them because we know the benefit that's going to go after that. So I feel it's the same with going out of your comfort zone. It's like you are confronted to stuff, and it forces you to grow, to learn, and to adapt. So as long as you adapt and you grow, you get stronger and you get better with time, and then you can do the same thing and you get another level. But
Well
I did
said.
not
Well
always
said.
have that mindset. Like when I started at Bell, I had 18 years old. So I was picked up at college. I was in a 3-year college program in conception electronics. And I heard that Bell was hiring but they were hiring graduates, so people like in the third year. But I said to myself, what do I got to lose? Let me try it. Let me take a chance. Be positive. So I just put my CV in there. I said, we never know. The worst, what would be the worst that could happen? And I did get called in for an interview. I did the interview. They did like me. And afterwards, in retrospective, when I asked, they tell me that the fact that I survived at McDonald's for 4 years, they said, you'll be able to survive with us for one summer. In fact, I never left since. So that was my way in. I came into that company. It was a very, very big company. So for me, it was a big win because a lot of people were looking either at Bell or Hydro-Quebec for electronics. So that was like the two big places where people wanted to get in. So I was happy. On that second year, I learned something called the DMS. And the DMS is like the big brain behind the PSTN technology. It's like the main computer or the main engine, the main device that would manage all the lines, that do all the translation, the routing. That's what makes the decision that when you dial number XYZ, the call has to go through this central office to this central office to there. It's like the big engine. So this is where I started to put my hands on that, but I was learning just a little piece of it, just the line portion, just enough to support a residential and business customer full line. I was being passive because at the beginning, since I was the youngest in the company, I was doing shift, moving, schedule, weekends, evenings, etc. But I knew I had to do it. It's just the beginning. But at a certain point, I was looking for stability. So, and I was in a comfortable zone, a comfort zone, where I got my shift that I wanted to. I knew the job. I was able to support everything I had to do. So I was, comfortable at that point. And I stayed like that, passive, for 8 years.
So Shawn, let me just get to that point where you came to that epiphany of being uncomfortable. So where is it in your journey that you realized, you need to be uncomfortable? And what was that experience like?
It was actually at the end of that 8 years, because there was some organizational change that happened. So what happened, I had my status was, I had a permanent status, but not full-time, temporary. But I was almost working full-time, like 37.5 hour a week. But something, there was some change in the company and they reduced my hours to the minimum. So I was doing 18 hours a week, only 3 days of 6 hours. And at that time, I was planning on buying my first house. So I needed, the hours, I needed to save money. Yeah. I had a plan.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to get uncomfortable.
And I was, pinned to the wall, and I said, what I'm gonna do? So I waited and stayed in that same group for a year, for another 12 months, patiently waiting for something good to happen to me, for the universe to notice me, and something would miraculously happen. And nothing happened. And at a certain point, I'm like, man, this makes no sense. I'm there, I have the opportunities in front of me, but I just don't want to get out of my comfort zone. So, pick yourself up and do something. So I remember I called back the same manager I called the first time. It's the NOC team, the network operation team. And I called her a year after and I said, okay, I would like to apply for your team, but this time I'm ready to do the shifts and the nights, if you're willing to accept me. So we did the interview, that went well. So that was the first time I went out of my comfort zone, I would say level 1. So, and for me, that was a big trigger because it put me back into learning mode, like in, development mode. Since I left school and I was getting my comfort zone, I was just browsing and doing like my regular day job, focus on doing well, not more. But now to a new group, so I had to learn something new. So that really expanded my knowledge, and I really leveraged that for me to not only know the lines, but starting to know the peripherals that are behind the lines and how they interact with each other and how different teams interact with each other. When there's an alarm over here, this team get impacted, this device get impacted, those line goes down, etc. So I started to understand. interact with people outside, also how to fix those problems.
Mhm.
And I just focused on doing my job, learning the most as I could.
So you took all those experiences through that time. You made the first uncomfortable move, which is to join a team that maybe didn't have the best hours for you, but you gained a lot of experience from that, which is fantastic. Now, if you go a few years to maybe where you currently are, what is probably the most impactful and uncomfortable state that you had to endure and overcome?
Wow. There was several one of them, and while I was in that group, I was asking a lot of questions. I was taking notes. I was really focused on, I wanted to learn and be good at what I do, and I also wanted to understand the big picture. So they did notice that, and they saw that my enthusiasm wanted to learn. I got presented with that offer, and it was very scary. It was really nice for me because it was finally a day shift job, 1 to 5, Monday to Friday, no evenings, no weekends. So that was happy about that. But the responsibility that would come with that was really heavy because she was the only one supporting that, and she was the support. So I knew that when she got, I would be the one I have to respond to all the problems of all the different teams that used to come to her, and I needed to bring my knowledge up to a certain level in order to be able to provide them support. Otherwise, I'm just going to be a duck here and get a fire at. So I felt the pressure, but I didn't back off. When you face fear, I felt like I shouldn't be paralyzed by it, but I should embrace it. So in other words, it's like I use that fear as a source of energy. So for me, fear is a feeling to tell you, it's like a ring, a sirens that ring that tell you, watch out, there might be a danger here. There's something, you have to do something. So what fear makes you do, it makes you instinctively protect yourself. But when you embrace it, now you can start thinking and strategize about what I'm gonna do if I do this way. I'm gonna have to do this, put this in place for protection, or I have to think about a backup plan, or I need to think about this and that. So I didn't run away from that fear. I just embrace it and go forward with it. I didn't ignore it and left it in the back of my mind, and that fear would keep creeping on me and looking at me, and at some point would just jump on me and invade me. I just look it right in the eyes and just face it. I said, I have confidence in my skills. I know I can learn. I know I can improve. So I'm confident about that. It's just, I know it's a big challenge. And I took a lot of notes during that time because I know that those notes will be like my most important resource in order to help me remember or answer those, feedback that I got afterwards. So we were able to take over the team transparently in the eyes of the company. That was seamlessly. Nobody complains, and we're able to take everything that was thrown at us. And it was like a big example of success of knowledge transfer. So that was like a really great feeling.
That's amazing. I mean, that sounds like the journey you took while it wasn't direct. The fact that you got to that place where you've gained the experience and you looked fear in the eye and took that on, that is quite an accomplishment. Now I'm feverishly want to know, so where are you now in your experience, in your role?
The team where I'm in now right now is actually the last time I went very out of my comfort zone. And I think that was the part I was the most not daunting, but the most challenging for me to overcome in my career. Because, okay, so what happened is there was a meeting in the team, and they were presenting this new technology, the one I'm working on right now. And they say, okay, this technology is coming in our team, in a couple of years, or we don't know exactly how much time. And it's a hybrid technology between telephony and IP. So it would be a good fit if you guys started to look into IP, So that was a recommendation. It was not mandatory. So I took this as a goal for me to say, okay, you know what? You've been thinking about CCNA. Now you have a reason to do it. Just go and do it. So I took about a year of self-taught, self-training to learn about CCNA. I was studying during lunchtime, during commute, and I actually got my certification after 1 year. So when I came back, not came back, but when I got my certification, my leaders were like, "Wow, you actually went and did it. It didn't fall in a deaf ear. I'm impressed. I'm happy you guys do that." And also with the rest I already explained about how the success it was, to taking over this group. So they came to me and they gave me that proposition. They said, "Okay, this technology is coming soon to our team, so we want to be able to take this responsibility. But in order to take that responsibility, we need someone prime to be the support on that technology. So that person will be responsible for that technology in our team, in our region, and that would be the prime person. So like the main support guy. And we think about you because we know that you like to learn and you're good at learning and stuff like that. I think it would be good. Would you like it?" I was really happy that they think about me. I was really, it was really fun. And, I'd like, oh yeah, nice, they want me. But at the same time, I felt that fear again, man. I felt that fear because I felt the pressure. Because the pressure was, if I don't succeed, the whole team cannot support that technology. So the amount of time wasted and somebody else will take over that technology. And also, I think this technology was supposed to come to us before, but stuff happened and didn't happen. So they were really hoping for this to work this time, and they were really betting on me. So I felt like they were betting on me, and I'm like, I don't want to let them down. So, I felt, again, with the fear straight in the eyes and, go forward. So a couple of weeks before, what they're going to do, they're going to send me to this group, and this group is already managing that technology. So I'm going to go there to learn it. So I took books and I asked for all the documentation I could get. This is proprietary information, so you cannot find it anywhere else than inside of the company or the vendor providing you. Mm-hmm. So I took that documentation, and I remember in all my little holes out in between the job I was doing, I was reading the documentation cover to cover. Then the time come, I actually went into that team. And when I get into that team, it was not as I expected, because I came to that team full of energy, inspiration, with my backpack full of the binders and all the notes that I took. And I come to that team, I'm like, "Hey, I'm here," like almost. And they were like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, we've all felt that, eh? We've all felt that, eh, Shawn?
Oh, yeah.
"Who sent you?" "Well, my leader." "What are you here for?" To learn this technology." "Okay, what do you want to learn about it?" "I don't know. I don't know anything about this technology." "Well, it's very vague, so you need to tell us what you want to learn about." "Well, I don't know what you guys can show me." "Well, who's going to train you?" "I don't know. I was hoping you guys would, Basically, there was no plan for me when I got there. And that was the most scariest part for me, because I was ready to learn, but they were not ready to train me. So I was like, what I'm going to do now? I feel like I hit a wall, and, but I didn't back away right away and starting to make excuses or complaints and stuff like that. They were not unwelcoming. They were welcoming. They did welcoming and shit, but they're just not prepared or well prepared for me to get a training and for that the size that I needed to in order to do that. So what happened is that I took a little bit of time to step back, take a big hair, and said, "Okay, Joe, do it one thing at a time and see how it goes." I was in that group for about 6 months in training with little to no supervision at all. I could have spent the 6 months just rolling my tongues and just watching and thinking about the excuses I'm going to make after that when, stuff cannot make happen, or just complaining that somebody else has to make something happen for me. But I didn't want to take that route. I just wanted to do everything in my power to make it happen. So what I did the very old-fashioned way. I took a chair. I went in that little cubicle where there was a couple of people, 2 people that was working in that technology. And I sat on that chair and I just watched them working. So at first I was just looking at them and, watch them solve problems that were coming at them. Then I was asking questions, taking notes. I actually make myself a mini desk in between 2 pieces of furniture. I just put like a little table, and it was not really official desk, but I'd rather be here than a real desk because I wanted to be close to them and see. So I was asking questions during that time and taking notes. And the way I was taking notes this time, instead of using like just a block note, WordPad, Microsoft Word, I started to use emails. So I was writing email notes to myself, and I had like a folder in my email, and I keep sending email to myself about, okay, today I learned about XYZ, and I heard this new
That's
term.
cool.
It rings a bell about something. I go back in my back, open my binder,
Mhm.
and reread that section. Or sometimes they were busy, so I'll go back on the vendor website, try to find the documentation on this, and try to understand it or read it. And I did that for 6 months.
That sounds very detailed, Jonathan. Like that's quite incredible. And after you've reached that point where you felt that you've got all that experience, where did that take you currently to your current position now?
Actually, when I learned stuff, not in the right order, like in logical order. Like I would learn Z over here, and 3 months later I would learn F, and then I would learn I. Then 2 months after that I learn A, and I'm like, oh, this is the beginning, and I put the pieces together.
Ah,
So after that 6 months, I had a lot of notes taken. I started participating in calls, and I started to get more comfortable. And now I felt like I started to understand a little bit better the technology to a point where they could bring me back and we could bring the technology back. So what I did with all those notes that I took, I just reassembled them and put them like in the right order. And I was able to make like proper training documents to bring other people up to speed and give them like the knowledge in the way they should have received it, and not like all mixed. And from that
Makes
point,
sense.
I'm still in that team today, and it's still being a challenge because you're learning every day. But I keep working on that, and throughout that point, during that 6 months, I would say the thing that I learned the most is I learned to self-evaluate myself. So I would say every now and then I would almost have a conversation with myself, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? What I need to work on in order to be able to support that technology. So I was thinking about all the different points, and I was focused on that, to either do more research or ask questions on them. And at the same time, I was looking at my strength, and I said, I don't want to lose that strength. So I want to keep building on that strength. So I want to keep working on that. And I kept that same methodology of, self-evaluation until today. Now it's been 4 years, maybe I'm in that group, and I still do the same things. And I've uh, evolved the way I manage my emails. So, with times you get so much emails now with projects and this and that, I get overflown. But I developed like a technique in order to manage that, so I can bring my email down to zero. And
wow.
I actually
Wow.
started read a book called Getting Things Done by David.
Yeah,
Yeah,
David Allen.
yeah, I read that book, and I remember in that section they said, okay, you need to be able to manage your email and bring them back to zero, but very few people actually do that. And I was happy to read that and say, I'm actually already doing that, so I'm on the right track. So I
Fantastic.
was really happy. I used some of his trick also to enhance what I was doing, and I read the Phoenix Project too. It was a great book.
That's
Yeah,
a
I
good
love
book.
that book.
Yep.
That's a
Yep.
fantastic book. I love that.
A recommendation from my study group. A friend there, just sent it to me and said it's a great book to read. I read it, and sometimes I see myself, or sometimes I see situation that is similar to what happened in the book, and
Right.
But anyway, there's so much stuff. The door is open now, and my mind is open, and now I welcome challenges, and I just embrace fears, go forward, and I dig deeper, and my conscience is clear because I give my best in everything I do. So that's the way I am. I just want to keep focused and keep improving that way.
Such.
Wow, that what a journey. I mean, facing your fears, but getting that uncomfortableness from the time you arrived and they had no action plan for you. The fact that you had to make your own action plan to learn this new technique that's proprietary. The fact that you took your notes and your decisive way of capturing notes and emailed it back to yourself so you can put that together. And then lastly, organizing that into a consecutive way of how this process works. I'm saying process because I'm a process nerd. So I'm assuming you put from A back to Z and brought that back to your team and taught everyone. That's absolutely fantastic, Jonathan. Absolutely.
Thank you.
What are some of the tactics that you've learned over those years that you lean on now for the last 6 months, particularly for what we're going through. Is there anything that you can talk about what you used to get through some of your most challenging initiatives or projects in the last 6 months?
Um, I use different things. Taking notes is a big part of it, and that senior employee that trained me was also a kind of mentor for me because she also gave me like personal and career advice that I really like to. And one
Mhm.
of them was you need to share. Don't hold that knowledge just for you. Sometimes you can see that there's a mindset where people will gain something and they will hold on to it because that's my value. I'm good.
Mm.
They keep me over here because I know this stuff. But right now, especially right now, is things are changing so fast. If you stay in the silo, you won't be able to gain knowledge at the same time. If you don't give, you won't receive. So it goes both ways. If your hands is closed, yeah, you won't lose, but you cannot put anything back in your hands. You need to be able to go back and forth. So sharing was a big part of it, and I trained
Mm.
people. And the notes that I took after that becomes training documents. I was able to convert them in training documents and share a lot of the knowledge that she teach me back to someone else so that person could replace me eventually when I left that group for something different. And tactics that I use when I was taking notes is that was a big part of it. Like when I took notes in a way as if I didn't know anything at all about the subject, as if I was starting from zero. So
Mm.
that way, if I go back on this note tomorrow or 10 years from now, it's like I can teach myself back where I was at that time because I started from the ground up. So I just didn't take a note like, okay, this meant this. I just started and always trying to understand the big picture. So, break it down and say this and that. And at the same time, when you do this and you give training, it's also making you refresh your basics. So I heard or I read somewhere that when you're working out, you're learning, etc. It's like you're building like a tower. But
Mm.
what's stopping you from getting that little margin to make you like really an expert? It's your base because your foundation is not solid enough. So when I give training to people, it's for me a way also to review my foundation, go back to the stuff that I learned before, and I review them because I need to explain them. And when you explain something, it's actually a known technique. It's called the Feynman technique, where
Mm.
you would learn by teaching. So if you find yourself you're trying to explain something but you cannot explain it well, that means you didn't understand it well enough. So it's like the reverse of, or like a different version of what Einstein said.
Mhm.
But when I do that, I reaffirm my basis. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't notice that at that time, and I just learned something new. And now that little something helped me to build another something, another brick, and can put on top of it.
I love hearing this. Like I love the tactics you mentioned. So right away, what I'm getting from you is that you took notes, and the style and method you took notes really went a long way. I love the fact that you mentioned that you have a mentor. Now, I'm a big, strong believer of mentor. I've had
That's key.
maybe two. Yeah, isn't that key, Shawn? Like
Mhm.
I've had two over the years, excuse me, three over the years, and every stage of that mentorship, I've learned more. And then lastly, the fact that you share what you know, that goes a long way. I completely agree with you that having this information, not sharing with anyone, won't do any better for you and the organization that you're working for. That's fantastic.
Yeah, if I could add to what Carl's saying, I'm really inspired by everything that you're telling us, sharing with us here today, Jonathan. And I find that when faced with a challenge, just your energy to break out of our comfort zone and, you know, recognize that we might need to learn something new, change in some way in order to drive a future is incredibly powerful. So yeah, I really respect and admire those qualities in you and your story. I'm interested to know how others can follow your journey and rise in the company and do really creative things, and help their companies move forward. From your line of sight, how would you suggest that others can follow in your journey and in your
Um,
footsteps?
there's different ways. I'm on LinkedIn, so you can follow me on LinkedIn and send me messages, exchange with me.
Nice.
I'm also a part of a study group called Router Gods. So it's one of the study groups that I found while I was learning IP.
Router gods. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the gods of routers. So
Router. Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah,
I get it.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
router,
Really cool.
routers and
Yeah.
switches. Yeah, Router
Yes.
Gods.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
So
Okay. I love it. Continue. Sorry. Go ahead.
while I was learning about IP, I was doing my certification, CCNA, and then after that, I was going after my CCNP. I was doing some research online because I wanted like a community, and I wanted to find the different resource that I could use to learn. And the good thing about IP, since it's open, you can find a lot of sources over the internet about learning those stuff.
Right.
And I found on a video, and they were talking about this group called Brother Gods, and I was intrigued. So I make some research, and I finally find a way. It's a meetup group, and when you sign up to the meetup group, they send you an invite, and then you can access like their channels. It's like they use River. It's similar to Slack, and it's a great community. I made good friends there. Exchange. I was able to get a lot of good recommendation about training resources. Good. They actually sent me to Cisco Live.
Nice.
In California. I'm based in Montreal, so I was able to go to California, go to Cisco Live. They give me a recommendation. I did a boot camp with Narbeck over there. I also follow another boot camp online with Coward Butt on different, IP technologies. It's a great place. So anyone, studying, going into networking, IP related, Router Gods, it's a great place to go. And I can give you the details on how to subscribe, and you can join me there also.
I really appreciate your time here, Jonathon, today, for telling us your story. And you gave some really, really high value key points on how to move your career forward and get out of your comfort zone and really rise at different levels of the organization. And that's what really separates us from staying in the same role all the time and it becoming too comfortable, right? And I've definitely walked away with some really, really powerful takeaways. So we thank you, Jonathon, for your time today. And
Thank you.
course, always Carl, for us working together. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, I love this interview. Thank you so much, Jonathon.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I enjoy what you guys do and the knowledge that you guys share. You guys are very generous. You share a lot of great tips, and I think those tips are good for everyone today, especially in the time today, because you see changes everywhere, and you need to adapt, and you provide some good tips for people, to adapt and step up. So I really appreciate that, and keep doing what you guys do also.
Appreciate it, Jonathon. Thanks so much, man. Well said.
All right, good stuff. So, and there you go. There you have it, folks. There's another episode of As Is To Be. Thank you for the time. We'll see you on the flip side. Peace.
All right, peace.